Welcome to the Everyday Awesome Project, where we bring you inspirational stories and game-changing strategies to live your most awesome life. Hey, superstars, welcome back. Polly here.
Good morning, beautiful humans. Good morning. It's a morning. We rarely tape in the morning.
I know. Here we are.
Look at
check
us.
check us
Coffee,
out. Oh,
tea.
I got the memo.
Hey. Oh, no way. Okay, we're hilarious. We did not plan that at all, but it's like the most super giant mug I have. You could literally swim. You could do a half Ironman swim in this mug. Cheers.
So Sam's talking about we
Cheers.
have our matching Ironman mugs. Yay! You've got World
That's
Championship.
funny.
I'm World Bag. This is a collector's item, as we know. So,
Yes, it
well,
is.
well, let's welcome everyone into our conversation today.
Oh my gosh, this is so
This
good.
is good
And
stuff.
as usual, like, relevant to what's happening in our lives and the lives of those we touch.
Yeah. So 4 simple steps when a door closes in life, right?
hmm
And
hmm
it's like, you think of like, oh, door closes, like slam, rejection or something, but we have different ways of looking at things, right? So let's set the stage. So, so what we're talking about here is, and you and I are like, there's two usually doors that close in life. One that you close, you're like, yeah, see you later, gotta go, like done, we're ending this, or I'm sayonara, or one gets closed for you. I love how you frame that because I said, oh yeah, or a door closes, and you're like, no, someone closes it for you. Right.
Or you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah. And so
Either way,
sometimes,
you'll be leaving.
yeah. And well, what I love about that second part is, it when someone closes it for you, it's like sometimes we don't take the initiative, we don't act, we're not ready, or there's a fear of the unknown. It's like, oh, well, if I stop doing this job, this relationship, this identity that I've had, this habit or whatever, like, um, what then? Right.
hmm
And so we kind
hmm
of sit in this muck. Is how it feels when I've done this to myself. And it's just like you're in this like purgatory, like, oh, 1 foot in, but you want to be out, but you don't close the door for yourself. But thankfully, universe, the person that you're with, whatever, the boss, whatever, closes the door for you. And so it
Let's
initially, yeah,
let's unpack that one first, just a
yeah,
little bit deeper. Now that we've sort of set the stage for the comparison, and we'll get into
yeah.
when you willingly do it later. But when it closes for you and you're kind of, setting a scenario there. So it could be you got let go from a job or a business that you own is closed for some other reason besides your choice. It could be relationship, the person
Mhm.
leaves or asks you to leave, whatever the scenarios. It could be friends and family. A lot of friend and family dynamic gets crazy at times, as we all know, and
Mhm.
they could exit your life or ask you to exit your life, the relationship in whatever capacity. It could be
Mhm.
communities,
Yeah.
where you, like, let's say I was, in a group and I was participating on a team or in some kind of community group, and then all of a sudden it literally dissolves. I mean, that
Mhm.
happened a lot during the pandemic, things of that nature,
Mm.
where people had their little hubs
Mhm.
of love or circle or wherever they hung out.
Mhm.
And they thought that that was great because they'd been doing that for a long time, habits, patterns, etc.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it all just, whew,
Yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah.
That's an extreme situation. But so everybody's been through this.
Yeah. And I think the one where, the door, someone closes it for you is a little bit more shocking, to your system, let's say. So
Well, yeah, it is.
when you close a door, sometimes it could be like in a moment of passion or fury or something, like you could close it and it's a little shocking to you also, but you taking the initiative, saying no, saying, I'm not doing this, leaving, whatever the move is, if you will, that jarring, but it's like instantly empowering. And I think when the door gets closed for you, the first response isn't always, oh, I'm super empowered, right? It's more
It's
like,
disempowered.
yeah.
Sometimes even the worst thing, rejection,
Hmm.
right? That's a very common response. Pain,
Hmm.
hurt, rejection,
Yeah.
the feeling of I'm not good enough or I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I
What
didn't make the cut.
what did I do
You know,
wrong?
I
Yeah.
no longer belong here.
What's wrong
All
with
of these
me?
things that are deeply painful.
Hmm.
And one of the things we talked about in this scenario is it can really be incredibly triggering for people because of old wounds. What might that look like, Polly?
Oh, geez. Well, we think that, the things that happen to us in life and our response to them is like, oh, well, that makes sense or that's logical. Well, it's actually probably some old behaviors or some memories that are stored within us that something like that happened. A kid rejected you, you didn't get picked on the playground, or, your parents got a divorce and you made it about like, oh, parents don't love me anymore, or whatever, or a friend, mm, gives you a boundary and makes a hard line and it feels like a breakup, if you will, right? And so
Mhm, mhm.
we get these little childhood wounds that we walk around. I've heard it talked about. It's kind of like if you have a wound on your skin, you have a little owie on your skin. And if the owie doesn't get bumped or doesn't get hurt, it's like, hey, you can kind of walk around with this little owie. But if someone comes along and they put sandpaper on that owie, they're like, oh, hey, that thing you've been walking around with, that open wound, woof. And you're like, oh, and it feels like in the moment your response to it is more dramatic or more impactful. Well, it's probably because there's something underneath that you need to unpack,
Oh, oh,
right?
definitely. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, we both have seen this. Hopefully, we haven't done it, but I'm not going to say I haven't. Where you're in even a professional setting
Mhm.
or whatever, like a setting that you should be acting professionally. And then maybe somebody says, or there's some actions,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, one person or the self reacts like a crazy person, like gets, overly dramatic, overly like under attack response kind of
Mhm.
scenario. And everyone's going, what in the hell? Because it
Right.
doesn't from the outside make sense, that kind of hard reaction. That's
Yeah.
that opening of the wound, the old
Yeah.
trauma that, we're witnessing in those people. And what we need at that time, by the way, is to show compassion for them.
Yeah.
However, generally we all counterattack and then it turns into chaos and
Mm.
everybody leaves the room and
A
there's
little
always
more explosive.
disaster happening, and that person, uh, w- uh, I gave an explanation of this recently in a professional setting where a lot of this was happening. There was all these
Yeah.
negotiations and different dynamics happening, and it was fascinating to be part of that and try and help them navigate it gracefully. But one of the scenarios that kind of came up, and in this instance, what it appeared to be is like the most wounded
Mm.
animal was the one that was attacking the most ferociously. It's like almost
Mm.
appeared to be that this person was an animal that got backed into a cage. That was how they were
Um,
expressing.
right.
And
Right.
it was interesting to
Yeah.
watch and try and navigate it gracefully because it wasn't really the scenario that was causing this extreme reaction. It was
Mm.
their own personal stuff they were bringing
Mm.
to
Mm.
the table, to the
Mm.
conversation, to the negotiation. And this, I think that happens frequently.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Well, and what I want to paint the picture with, doors closing, whether you're the one closing the door or the door, someone else closes it for you, you're gonna have an emotional response,
Hmm.
up,
Hmm.
down, whatever. So like that's totally normal. The steps we want to take you through
Don't
today,
resist it.
yeah, don't be like, oh,
Oh, we're good. Yeah, it's all good. I'll get on with my life. And then you're really gutted.
feel it. Yeah, feel it, right? Because how your life feels, you want to process these emotions. You don't want to, suppress emotions. Like process, don't like ride the wave, and I always and don't like add, water to something that's taking you downward. Don't put yourself into a quicksand and go downward, but I mean, this first step is that awareness, right? Like, whoa, I'm having this like major response in my body or minor response in my body. Like, wow, I feel really sad right now, or I feel hurt, or I feel reject, whatever. And it could be a level 5 or a level 10,
Mhm.
who knows? So be with it. And then we want to open you up to the steps that can help you guide and navigate that, right? Because, some people can take a moment of rejection, a moment of a door closing for you and like wallow, right? For decades,
Oh, oh, be
right?
paralyzed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be paralyzed in that moment of
Yeah.
hurt and rejection and whatever their emotions were for them, for the individual,
Hmm.
and just literally drowned in it.
Yeah.
I would say, just take a breath. That
Hmm.
breath, by the way, could take a week or days or a month or whatever, but
Hmm.
like that pausing and reflecting,
Hmm.
like what you're saying on the situation rather than immediately allowing the emotions to overwhelm you. Of
Hmm.
course, you're going to be emotional, but like anytime we have emotions, they need to be processed, right? Otherwise, they get stored in the body. So they need to be worked through and processed.
Yeah.
And so maybe you need to be alone. Maybe you need to be with a loved one. Maybe you need to be journaling, like some way to move through that is a
Hmm.
natural grace to give yourself. And don't
Right.
automatically assume that it's you either,
Mm. Right. Say more.
no
Say
matter
more.
what that person told you.
Yeah.
Boss or partner or friend or whatever, the blame and shame
Yeah.
game, no matter what
Yeah.
was said,
Yeah.
don't attach to the words that were said. Liberate yourself from those.
Yeah, and so two things I wanted to say as you were saying that I think were came up for me. One is the story. So there's what's so, right? Like someone closed the door, or you said you stepped away from something, right? You closed the door. In that moment, your mind is instantly going to start making meaning, right? Like that's
Mm,
what it does. It's like moments happen, situations happen, people say things, and the mind goes, "What does that mean? What does that mean?" Right? You don't even notice it, but it's doing that. And so, like you said, if you go into this pity party, this wallowing, it's like, I'm not good enough. They hate me. I'm never gonna, I'm never gonna be find love again. Whatever, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
notice the meaning that your mind starts to make and don't get attached to it because you're probably in a heated moment, right?
mhm,
And then the
mhm.
second is you name some things to do, like step away from it. In a moment I had recently, we talk about, this happens to us all the time, these things that we bring up in our podcast. And it's like, so I had a door closed for me and I was like, I instantly wanted to reach out, actually. Like I wanted support. Like I wanted to talk to people. It wasn't like, oh, I should just go home and like think about this and do this process. It was like, no, maybe support is exactly what you need. Just having your friends be there for you just to keep you up and lift you up. Like, hey, you know what? This just happened. Or celebrate. Like, oh my God, this door closed. I hadn't done it for myself, but it just closed and, woohoo. Right.
Mhm.
So whatever.
Well, rephrasing how we have, this door, they closed it for you, does give an underlying message and feeling, evokes a feeling of it's a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes gifts are painful, but
Hmm.
they're freaking liberating also.
Mm, So let's walk them through what we would say, some steps that we came up with.
Yeah.
We're talking about it a little bit, we're kind of bouncing around it, but I would say the first step that I thought of and we think is, valuable is shifting the energy in that moment, right? So
Mhm,
there's
mhm.
something that wants to be released. So like this happened to me recently, had a project I've been working on and with some people. And I've been wanting to not be on this project anymore. I was like, this ain't what I thought it was going to be. It's not quite working out. Don't think we see eye to eye. But I was kind of sitting in this middle ground of like, should I stay? Should I go? Should I see out this project? Whatever. And when they said, hey, you know what? I think we're going to end this. And I was like, oh my God, like super liberating. But what I had felt, and you helped me with this because it happened recently, is there was a lot of just built up, kind of crunchy, yucky, negative energy that I'd been building, kind of like accumulating around this project. Like this didn't work, and that wasn't great, and these people, and this and that, and whatever. So my first step was like a releasing, right? So I
Mm,
literally like came home, took a shower, put on new clothes, took myself out. I was just like, I have to like get out of that energy, right? And that can look very different ceremonial. Anything you want to say about that releasing the old, right?
yeah, it's a recalibration of all the things, but in particular of your energy, and then that leads to the mindset and the
Mm,
emotions attached to it. But that has to first come from some actions.
mm, yeah.
Right? So if
Yeah.
you just sat there, in your car or wherever you were when the thing transpired, right? And didn't take any action to move the energy and reset
Hmm.
the mindset,
Hmm.
it would stay within the body.
Hmm.
So for me, a lot of times I'll go for a hike or a run or a bike ride. I'll get outside, I'll start moving my body. I literally come back a different person,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, who hasn't been off a project or a job, that
Right.
they had a certain idea it was going to keep going or whatever. I
Hmm.
mean, or who hasn't had a relationship end? I mean, everybody can relate to this. And I think what's so cool about how you just told your story, and I know, it happened recently and it was really beautiful to be part of it with you, was, I mean, we really did celebrate. Even though somebody closed the door for you, it was a hallelujah moment
Yeah.
of liberation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, there's still like some loss and some emotion around, wow, I had a lot invested in that and I was putting a lot of energy into that. And,
Hmm.
I see
Hmm.
things through and I had a vision, all the things. Of course. Yeah,
Hmm.
totally.
Hmm.
All of that is also true, but
Hmm.
both things can be true.
Yeah. And I
Both
think,
things can be true.
and I think about the times in relationship where a door is closed for, in relationship, let's say an intimate relationship. And one of the
A
things I want to,
marriage.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, talk about an investment.
They-
I thought this was going to go a whole other way. And you and I have
so,
both been, divorced when we
yeah.
were younger. It's like, it's not really what I thought it was going to look
Happily
like.
ever after. Yeah, totally. So I want to add another, like step number one is, releasing the old, like shedding the
Hmm.
energy, kind
Hmm.
of clearing the decks, like just,
Mm.
and so
It's kind of a
what that bring,
detox
what that brings it, yeah, I was gonna say detox or ceremony, right? So
ceremony.
yeah, there could be something like I did some beautiful ceremonies I had a friend pass away. That's what, not exactly the same, door closes, if you will, but that relationship door closed because he passed away. Did a beautiful ceremony to, say goodbye and stuff like that. So if ceremony feels like it's something that resonates for you in whatever phase you're in, right? So it could be just like, oh, like I need to celebrate, or I need to reach out to a friend, or I need some quiet time, or whatever. Go for a run, go for a hike, go for a drive, right?
I love this idea of ceremony. I just got a
Mm.
vision of, you know, being part of or facilitating or whatever, like, when somebody becomes single again. What a freaking cool ceremony that could be.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about crazy Las Vegas
Yeah.
bachelorette weirdness. Like I'm
Yeah.
talking about like ceremonial,
Yes.
the being back into the solo sphere and
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
a fully liberated person and whatever that experience is for everybody. Gosh, why don't we have these as part of
Mm.
society?
It's true because I can remember when my divorce happened, I felt this trepidation. Like I still felt attached because I didn't do something like this. Now that we're talking about this, I'm like, man, to honor and close that out. It's like
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
slowly unwound itself, you might say. Like I didn't date right away. I didn't like put myself on the market, whatever. It took, good 6 to 8 months or whatever. But if I had done a ceremony, at least I would have been open to that idea. Not that I want it, whatever, but having that closure or honoring whatever that was, if that feels good, right?
I freaking love this.
And
I
honoring
love this.
yourself. Honoring
Yeah.
yourself. Like, okay, I'm
And
complete with that. Yeah.
it's so cool. I have a friend, a gym friend, who's been getting a divorce for over a year, over a year. And it's really just, blown her life as she knew it out. And
Hmm.
she's just sort of hanging on by a thread there. And
Yeah.
it's really hard to watch and
Mhm.
to support because she's trapped in that moment. And I think things like this could be powerful.
Mhm.
When someone closes a door on you at work or in a career project or at school,
Mhm.
maybe like you're chipping along and you think you're going to be a doctor or you're going to be this or that or whatever. And then for whatever reason, you don't get accepted into that program and they close the door and then there's no more opportunity. Or I know a couple people, this is interesting, like my son is colorblind, my dad was colorblind, and there was a friend of mine who was colorblind. And he really wanted to be a pilot. You can't be a pilot.
No. Yeah.
Because I mean, so like things are just part of who you are in the world. And then you think you're going to have this dream life of doing the XYZ. And
Yeah.
then they go, oh, you didn't pass that test.
Yep.
You're no longer going down that road,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And people have to really just figure out,
Reset. Yeah.
reset, recalibrate,
Yeah.
figure out
S-
who they really are. Don't get attached to the story. I love that. Hmm.
yeah. Or, be mindful of the story and weave the web, of what you want. So I want to go into our second step, which is,
Hmm.
this is
So then
a,
what?
yeah. So I think the natural next step is like, what are your takeaways? Like doing a
The
journaling,
lessons.
yeah, get the lessons, get the gifts, the
Mm.
takeaways. What did this teach you? Right? What do you know more about yourself, about life, about people, whatever, that having been through this experience, been with this person, been in this job, had this closed, what do you know more about the people, yourself, like that, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Well, that really takes a whole other mind shift. What are the gifts and lessons? You sir. No, because you have to be totally with yourself,
Mhm.
right? And providing a space for yourself of compassion and grace and love to say, hey, part of me or parts of me are better because of.
Mhm.
this door was closed? What are
Mm-hmm.
those parts? How can I
Mm-hmm.
identify with those parts? So, what would be some gifts? Give me some examples of what you've experienced as lessons or gifts.
Oh, well, I just did 2 pages
Oh
of,
my
right,
goodness.
yeah,
Okay.
when I was doing the gifts and lessons. Yeah, yeah, no doubt, because we talked about this and I was
Wow.
like, yeah, I'm gonna look at them for this. Yeah, I mean, one
That's
of the things,
awesome.
yeah, one of the things I want, yeah, right? Like life is a school. Like we are
Life is a
here,
school.
we are here growing ourselves, getting to know ourselves more, reminding ourselves of who we are. And when we do things or we step into situations where it's wonky or it doesn't work out, it's often because either like mine, like clearly it was a moment of compromise. I took some work, a project that it wasn't hit checking all my boxes, but I still took it, right? And
Mhm.
so like one of my greatest ones is like it's like there is no satisfaction in work that is taken from a place of compromise.
Oh,
Yeah. That's one of my that was my number one, that was my first takeaway, not my number one, but that was my first one. And I would say some of the takeaway is like looking at the experience, i.e., let's say it's a month or 6 years or whatever it is of that. So you might have like years or that, and then it might be in that moment. Like, so the door closing for me instead of me closing the door, there's a lesson in why didn't I close that door sooner?
mm,
Right? So
yeah.
the lesson can
Mhm,
be the what I was doing at the end, or like sitting in work that wasn't fulfilling, satisfying me, and not acting. It's like, okay, what's the lesson in the future? If it's not satisfying in the beginning, it's not going to be satisfying in the end. Leave, take a step sooner, right?
mhm, mhm, mhm,
Yeah. So like, I don't know, get out as soon as you realize that it's not good. When you're compromising your values, you're eating into your emotional, spiritual satisfaction also, right?
mhm, mhm.
I also like good things. Like people are inherently good. That was one of my takeaways. Like people are inherently good. I took away a lot of good experiences, relationships. Um, I'm a higher quality person, that, for the things that I learned during that process. So lots of,
Yeah, skills. I mean,
mhm,
skills are learned in the school of life too.
yeah.
Skills are learned. So you obviously, all of us, take away skills
Hmm.
as we move above and beyond.
Hmm.
Like if it's in relationship, maybe you learned the skill of standing up and speaking up for yourself, or
Right.
listening to your gut, or whatever. If it's in the workspace, maybe you literally learned technical skills on the job to do a certain thing, or you became an expert at a certain thing. And
Hmm.
that's incredibly powerful as you move forward in your life and decide what you
Yeah.
want to do next. Maybe you learn you hate that line of work. This sucks. I thought this was going to be so fun. It's the opposite of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go back into that type of
Hmm.
work. Like there's so many
Yeah.
opportunities for lessons.
Like I remember talking to this student in college, and this is a recent, I'm not in college, but this person was this college student, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, I started taking classes. I want to say in architectural engineering or something." She's like, "Oh, I thought I wanted to be an engineering architect or something," and she goes, "And that was definitely not it, right?" So in those, when we're literally in school and we shift majors, like it's not a surprise. It's like, oh yeah, I took a couple
I'm
classes.
surprised it doesn't happen more. It's so freaking shocking to me
Yeah.
that young people can go in at whatever, 18, 19, 20, whatever, and then they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this the rest of my life." No, you're not. I mean, how many people are gonna do that the rest of their life?
Small percentage, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think one of the things in relationship that we do, and maybe in work too, is we're all walking around with a little bit of standards, expectations of like
Ah,
knowing ourselves and what
oh,
we
yeah.
will accept or what we won't accept or what we bring to the table. Like, wait a minute, I brought a lot of this to the table and that wasn't appreciated. I want to go somewhere where this part of me is appreciated and valued and celebrated, right? So that list of what we accepted or what we thought we wanted 10 years ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever, and we got into something, it's like, oh, wait, nope. I learned that this about myself or this about the people that I relate with. This is
I've
what
had
I
a
want.
lot of that lately.
Yeah.
With being in projects, whether being self-employed or contracted or whatever, a lot of my work is project-based. So people will hire me for certain skills or bring me onto a team dynamic because of certain skills, how they perceive me to be in the world and what they think I'm going to offer, no matter what my resume says or my experience or even maybe what I tell them, right? And then I
Mhm.
go into that environment And then this is my own personal learnings and takeaway lessons is I've had enough of those recently, especially post pandemic. I've done a lot of different projects. I mean, really kind of a whole, wheelhouse of crazy stuff. And I was expressing to you about one I'm currently in that I really was attracted to the company, the values, the vision, the amount of diversity and inclusivity in this space, all of the beautiful things, love it, love it. And then was in there doing the thing, offering my gifts and skills, but kept bumping into some walls around lack of communication or lack of follow through or things where I felt like I was being held back and couldn't fully deliver on what I brought to the table, as well as was I fully being seen, heard, and recognized based on what I thought I was going to be doing there. That kind of dynamic, right? And that can be really bumpy and messy because you're maybe the new kid on the block, or you're new to the relationship, or new to the team. And you're like, should I speak up? Well, I mean, listen, I'm 55 now. I speak up. And even after 50, it was like the switch. Tick. I speak up about everything. I'm very, professional and nice and loving about it. I'm not an a-hole about it, but I
Mhm.
definitely don't hold back my personal expression,
Yeah.
ideas, or thoughts anymore. And so it's really wonderful.
Mm.
They responded exceptionally well, and the process of recalibrating the situation so I could actually stay in it and they could get what they needed and I could get what I needed, and we could do amazing work together in the world.
Mm.
I mean, it was great
And
because
it's
I spoke up.
I was gonna say it's possible because you introduced the conversation, right? And I can tell you some of the relationships that I was in that I'm no longer in. If I had spoken up and like what you're saying earlier on, they wouldn't have lasted as long as they did. I was kept
Mhm, mhm,
keeping to myself and like, oh, maybe not this and whatever. And I think there are nice way, like you said, you weren't an asshole about it, right? Like
mhm.
so you having the conversation because there is some part of you that wants to speak and be heard and be seen and isn't it's not, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And in
Yeah.
this case, I saved the project. Rather than if I didn't and I allowed this to fester, I would have eventually closed the door without the conversation, without being seen, heard, and really explored whatever was
Mhm.
possible there. Or they would have eventually asked me to leave the project because it wasn't working out, because it
Mhm.
wasn't the match that we thought it was going to be. Right. So, what I'm saying, this all full circle,
Yeah.
is expectations.
Yeah.
I went in with expectations, they went with expectations. Everybody does this. And
Mhm.
those
Mhm.
expectations can be where the communication breakdown happens.
Mm.
And many, many times, whether it's, during the closing of the door moment, like how many times have you left a job or left a relationship and you're like, I should have said that.
Mhm.
I wish
Yeah.
I'd said that. But you were so emotionally overwhelmed, you didn't fully express
Or
yourself
resigned. Or
or
resigned.
resign.
Because as you were saying this, I love, this is fresh for you. So you're like taking these things in and but let's say you had sat in this, which I don't think ever would now or in the past, but let's say you sat in this
Oh,
job
I've
for,
sat in shit before. Oh,
yeah.
yes. Yeah. I know what it smells like. I know exactly what it feels like.
You know what I'm talking about. You're like, oh, well, maybe this will just get better on its own, or we start to try and nullify some of our expectations, or like, oh,
Mm,
maybe that's not as important as I thought it was, right? So we're getting off
yeah.
on the like what to do before the door closes conversation.
Yeah, let's
Like,
get back into our
how do we
steps.
prevent that? But that's so important. So yeah, so spend a moment at least, take a breath and like get the gift, right? Because especially the ones that are bigger doors, there's little
Mhm.
doors that close. You're like, oh, that doesn't bother you too much, but there's probably still a lesson or a gift in it.
Number
Um,
3.
yeah, and so you've cleared the energy, right? So you've ceremony or just shifted your energy. You've honored that time, right? You've
Mhm.
found the gifts, you pulled out the lessons. I would say then you're in a space for opportunities. Like what next?
Mm,
Dreamscaping. Like where do I want to go with this? What's possible? Especially if it was a job or project or an opportunity that closed and you're like, holy crap, like not doing that anymore. What am I doing? Going right into, oh, I need to find the next thing. I need to get online and find a job, like whatever.
or a mate.
Probably, yeah, it's probably in a place of desperation or not wrapping things up. So, but once you've come to that space, and that could come quickly, it could come in a couple of hours or a couple of days, right?
Yeah, but if you haven't done the other 2 steps, you could be also coming from a place of unworthiness and
Mm,
settling yet again.
yeah,
It can be a pattern for
yeah,
people,
yeah.
right? We get stuck in these grooves, in these patterns of how we pick jobs, how we pick mates, how we pick opportunities, circumstances. And you could deliver yourself onto the doorstep of the exact same thing you just walked out of,
Yeah,
but it looks so different. It's blonde now
mm,
instead of a brunette, or it's, now I'm in a suit and before I was in a, uniform or
wow.
whatever. It could be still the same experience.
Yeah.
We don't want that for you.
Yeah. So, and in some way, like why I said, I reached out to friends right after the store was closed for me. It was like, I wanted to, A, celebrate because I thought it was a good thing. Like instantly I'm like made good meaning. I'm like, yeah, right. And I've had friends call me when they lose a job or a project and I celebrate with them. I'm like, hey, that's great. And they're not maybe in the space, but like I see it for them. I'm like, great new opportunities. So
Mhm.
it's rebuilding your sense of worth and value is what you're talking about,
Mm,
right? So if you go in and go, oh, that door closed on me, I'm not good enough, I'm never whatever, and then we walk into the marketplace, relationship marketplace or business marketplace, and we're like, what can I offer? Where is my value? And we've like negated our full potential, right? And
I
we
think this is the most important step
mm,
as you're really unpacking it for us.
yeah.
Reevaluating and coming to real grips with, I mean, taking in
Mm,
wholeheartedly your
mhm,
true value, skills, gifts, potential
yeah,
is probably the most important step, no matter who's closing the door.
yeah.
Because if you don't take time to do that, and maybe that's part of step number three, is also taking an inventory of, hey, I'm a pretty kick-ass human. Let me tell you all about it. And you're literally talking to yourself in the mirror, writing this shit down, right? Like, or to a friend or whatever.
Exactly.
Like you and I could be like, okay, what are all the skills? Let's make a list. Ollie can do these 50,000 million things. We were running out of paper, right? Like sometimes you need someone to do that with you
Mhm,
also. But
mhm,
if you don't take time to do that, I think this is really, it's almost tragic. I hate to say it. But if
mhm,
you don't take that experience full circle in terms of really reconnecting to yourself with
mhm.
love and compassion and understanding about who you are, and then you move forward.
Well, I think you rob yourself, you shortchange yourself. It's like, you're about to jump on the trampoline of your next potential. Like you're like, bing, and but you only jump on like a little, you wimpy, right? You're like, if you go
Mhm.
in with fervor and excitement and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna find something new, and you like really throw yourself into the marketplace or what's future, or you're like, I mean, I can think about relationship wise, if it meaning an intimate, if you're looking for a new partner, whatnot, you, if you feel great about yourself, like you won't just accept any date, you won't,
Mhm.
you're going to be like, I have something to offer my next relationship. I've taken all these gifts away. I've learned a lot about myself. I am a beautiful soul, human, right? Somebody would love to be my partner.
Yeah, it reminds me of like when you want a PR for a race. So, we've set big athletic goals and sometimes we achieve them and sometimes we don't. So, when we don't, and the goal was to do a PR on a marathon or whatever, I'm just using that as an example, and we don't, for whatever reasons, it doesn't happen. Do we sign up for the next weekend?
Mm,
Because we think that the next weekend will PR and then the next
mm,
weekend and then the next weekend. All we do is bury ourselves because we haven't fully recovered
mm,
physically,
mm.
but we also haven't fully recovered mentally and emotionally
True,
to
true.
really deliver our best, our PR in whatever the scenario is. It takes
Mhm,
time for a full recovery, people. It
mhm,
really
mhm.
does.
Yeah, yeah. And I think if we don't honor like so if you just a door closes and you just go down the hallway and you go to the looking for the next one, right? You go into the marketplace looking for the next one. We probably don't, I want to say like the act of turning back, honoring that space, that experience, honoring what we learned and what we grew and we got out of, like you're taking gold with you, right? It's like
Mhm.
you are a bigger, brighter, shining example of your self-expression in the world. And it's like if you only thought of like who you were, when you started that relationship, you're not up leveling yourself. You're not taking yourself to what's possible for you.
You
right?
shouldn't even wear the same suit
Yeah.
or clothes or whatever. You
Yeah.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I love, it's so symbolic, part of what you did, showering, washing your beautiful hair, letting your hair down. You'd been in this very grind work, physical, masculine space doing this very
Yeah.
huge project. And then you all of a sudden were like, oh, yeah, the feminine in me needs to come back out, which is just completely a huge part of who you are. Hair down, let's put some makeup on, put a dress on. I'm going to go out. I'm going to have a nice dinner. Like, I'm going to reintegrate back into myself in
Mm.
full bloom.
Dude, stand up tall, shoulders back, like,
Yeah.
oh, like, hey, I'm amazing. Like that experience wasn't a fit, right? I was
Hmm.
compromising things. I was, doing work that wasn't as fit, and I learned that through the process. I thought it was, I was like, this isn't aligned. Maybe this could work, right? But I walked, and then I went, hold up, I am bigger, brighter, better, right? Because of it, and just who I am in the world. Like I just honor myself, honor my stories. I don't say, oh, look, I couldn't do that. And they close the door for me. Oh, maybe I'm not so good. Right. And then I just take less, less, less. Hell no.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hell no.
Well, those are reasons that many people don't close the door themselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? What stops people from doing that?
Yeah.
A lack
Yeah.
of all that. Excuse me.
And a big
Mhm.
one is the fear of the unknown, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, I can tell you
Excuse me.
sitting the amount of months, years, now years in relationships where I tried to, we're working on the relationship, right? And that was me not always fully expressing, but it was like, this needed to go, right? So you sit in this like muck and it's like, because some of it's like, well, I don't know what it's like outside. Like, oh, having to date again, or having to, will I ever find someone new? Or maybe I should just, quote, settle for this instead of stepping out and seeing what else is possible, right? And you do that in work as well. It's like, oh, well, at least it's a steady paycheck. At least I know these things. At least, whatever. It's like, no, that is not a good reason to invest another day of your life with that person or with that business.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. What's step number 4?
Last
Dun,
is
da, da, da.
make some decisions and take some action, right? So like, and that's going to look different, right? It's like, all right, what am I doing now? All right, let's decide on a course of action and get into it, right?
Don't stay stuck.
Yeah.
Take some freaking action. And it can be really small steps.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to go slower and the steps are going to be smaller. Sometimes it's going to be radical.
Massive. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, it can look a lot of different things. And I think if you've done the steps that we talked about, you've gotten the closure, you released some energy, maybe ceremony, honored something, taking the gifts, you really feel yourself, you've opened up your mind, your dreamscape, and your imagination to all possibility. And what could I do? And then you just decide. And guess what? It may not be the first action is going to lead to like boom, boom, boom. This is just humming, or like the first person that you go out on a coffee date with is like, oh, wow, magic, right? But
Hmm.
it's getting back in the game. It's getting back in action, and it's going to teach you some more things, as life always does.
Hmm. And recognizing that when you move forward, you make some decisions and you take some action, you're not the same
Mm,
person.
yeah.
You're
True.
not taking that backpack full of bricks that you just took off when the door closed or somebody took it off your back. You're not taking it with you. It's not going with you. You are not the
Hmm.
same person.
Hmm.
Please.
Yeah. And depending on what, there's a beautiful quote. It's the universe abhors a vacuum, right? And so it's physics, right? And so it will fill it. It naturally fills it. Like if, in the world of feng shui, we talk about it as like if you remove something from your house or you empty out a drawer, it's like, boop, in a couple of months, things will be showing back up, or the closet gets cleared out and more stuff, or your purse or whatever, right? So like that's a physical way you could say it. But the same is true for the vacuum that's created by the door being closed. So I always look at that like, wow, this area of my life, I now am open, right? I'm back open to the space of receiving, right? And I think if we position ourselves, we position our mindset and our energy of like, I've up leveled, I've learned more, I've expanded, I'm a more bigger expression of myself, we welcome in, those new opportunities, like you said, you're not the same person because your energy is different. You've shifted if you've allowed that. So,
Mhm.
Good stuff. Take massive action, try different things. I often find it's like this is an opportunity for you to like, explore, depending on where you are in your life, maybe you do a lot of little different things. Maybe you do something you've never done. Maybe you, instead of going right back and getting a job, take a trip, go, whatever, take a class, right? Go back to school. Who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Allow it to be limitless.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to recap, first step, release it, process it, change the energy. Second step, get the lesson, get the gift. Third step, dreamscape. Imagine what's possible. And four, decide and take some action. Like you're a new you, a better you. It's a good thing that this happened for you. Right. All right. So what's the one thing we want to remind them of? What's the one thing, if they only got one thing out of today's episode? And you said it, I'll say it back to you, is
well, how I say it and you say it are two very different ways that we operate, which is typical for us, except it's the same thing.
Well,
mine is you're not a victim.
Yeah.
Don't choose, because it is a choice, to be a victim if somebody closes the door upon you, or if you choose to close the door, whatever the scenario is. Don't drop into that as a victim. How would you say that differently? That's maybe a little more loving and graceful.
Well, I say there's what's so, so like, okay, so that's what's so, like the door is closed. So what? Like, so what are you going to do now? Right. And anything that you say after that, so what, the meaning that you make, right, of like the door closed, the story that you tell yourself is going to disempower you or it's going to empower you, and tell an empowering story. Because guess what? It is. Like, I don't know about you, but when hindsight is 2020. We always have the perspective once we look back, and a month from that door closing, 6 years from that door closing, whatever, you go, that was probably the best moment of my life, or I'm so glad that happened, or what a gift that was. We can't necessarily, the lens can be, the broader, and the hindsight can get better as the time grows. But I think in honoring that, so something happened. So what? So now what?
So now what?
Now what? Beautiful humans.
It's such an exciting time.
Yeah, good
for all of us.
Doors opening, man. Doors open. Door closes, door opens. You just gotta find it. Just like, oh, well, that one's closed. Universe pours a vacuum. Okay, where am I to take my beautiful self next? Right?
Pick the most colorful door you can find next, please.
Okay? Amen. I agree.
You'd say yours would be rainbows and sparkles, and just at least a pop of color, please.
Yeah. No compromise. No compromise.
No compromise. All right, my beautiful sister.
Yeah, let's remind them our beautiful closing. What do we want to tell them today?
Well, this is how your life feels is more important than how it looks. Ba-bam.
Boom. And every day is your opportunity to find your awesome.